Hi, I'm Hannah with Wonderfully Made, and welcome to our April garden tour. So this is actually my very first garden tour. I've never done this before, and I thought we'll just walk around our garden and see what's looking beautiful right now. But before we do this, I want to paint you a picture of what this garden used to look like. So the deck was much smaller. It ended actually right here, and what we had was lattice all the way around, so you couldn't really see too much out. It felt like a little prison. So that's all we had. We didn't have a roof or anything. It was just open. So we usually had an umbrella popped up, and we were just in this little tiny area. And since then, a lot has changed. So we've made the deck a lot bigger. And we came up with this kind of half of an octagon shape because we saw our neighbors and we thought, oh, that looks so beautiful. Why don't we do the same thing here? And if you see something that someone else has done well and you want something like that in your own space, don't be afraid to copy them. And they've already done the work of figuring out what makes it look good. Then it makes it so much easier if you just copy them. So that's what we did here. Then we started adding a pergola, which was beautiful, but you still weren't undercover when it rained. So we usually got wet until we had an idea of putting a tarp up. But then the problem was that it pooled on the top, and we needed to get a big broom and poke it, and all the water would come gushing down, sometimes on us. It was really fun for the kids, but not so fun for us. And so what happened, the tarp got old, and we've been, Kyle and I, my husband, we've been talking about doing a roof, but it takes a lot of time to do a roof just one person, and I had 4 little kids. And I was like, you know what, we've done so many projects. I don't want to do such a big project, just my husband alone, because I'll be watching the kids forever by myself. So we said, you know what, the only time we'll do a roof is if Kyle's dad, who's a really good carpenter, if he helped, because that would speed the project a lot faster. So what we did is we prayed and we said, you know, God, if this is something that can be done and Kyle's dad mentions it, then we'll go ahead. If not, we'll forget about it for a long time until the kids have grown up. So we prayed about it, left it at that, and then one late November day, we were at Kyle's parents' house, and I was looking through a flyer they had, and Kyle's dad sat next to me and said, what are you looking at? And I said, well, I'm checking out the tarps. And he asked, for what? I said, well, for our roof over the deck. He says, that's it, you're not buying a tarp, I'm building you a roof. So praise God. And he was here early December, and they got all the posts in the ground just before the ground started to freeze, and they had it up within, I think, a month. They were pretty fast. So I'm really happy. This is actually my very favorite place of our whole house. I'm out here every day drinking my coffee, and it's especially nice when it's raining outside and I can be here in the dry, and you can see the rain pouring down, and you can hear it on we have 4 skylights up here. So we still get a lot of light inside, and it's just such a beautiful, cozy room. I used to like traveling, and since I've developed the garden, I'm not too interested in traveling anymore, because I'm thinking, where else would I go? It's so beautiful here. But anyway, we're gonna look at some things we have here. So I noticed that most of the furniture, or anything up here, really comes from, we call it Treasure Tuesday. Now, a lot of people call it Garbage Day. I call it Treasure Tuesday because there's so many good things you can find. It's amazing what people throw out here in Canada. So starting with this lamp, this was a wonderful find on Treasure Tuesday. Then what we like to do as a family is we come together and we think, what do we need? Or it's not really a need, it's more like a want. But we do bring it before God and say, hey God, can you please help us find this on Treasure Tuesday? And oftentimes we find it. So we found all these chairs on Treasure Tuesday. There was a table that went with it that we since then gave out because it wasn't quite the kids, they like to have a lot of space, but we kept the chairs. We found this on Treasure Tuesday. We found all of these on Treasure Tuesday, which Kyle built lids for them so we can store stuff inside. And of course, the house that the kids like to play with, they often sit on the top here. They also have this here that we bought on Amazon. So this is not from Treasure Tuesday, as is the net. But they climb up here, swing over, and then this is where they hang out. And this is actually strong enough for the whole family to sit up there, which is really nice and cozy. So after we had built the deck before the roof was put in, we purchased this Japanese maple. And so we stuck it here. And so when the roof was put in after we already had that Japanese maple there, but we love it there so much that we said, you know what, we're gonna just keep it there and we're gonna see what it does. We're hoping that it's kind of gonna grow towards the light. So we'll see what it does. It's undercover and it's still getting enough rainwater, but it's such a beautiful tree right there, especially when the morning light shines on it. You get all these, they illuminate the leaves. It's just so pretty. And because I like Japanese maple so much, you'll see them dotted out in our garden. It's just such a nice splash of red. I like my gardens to have multiple colors. I always say green, blue, something yellow and red in terms of foliage. It keeps the garden interesting all year round. And I also like when there are multiple heights. So you have like the lower flowers, then you have the shrubs and the tall trees. Those are the kind of gardens I like. All right, so before we head in, there are other things that we can see from the deck here. You can see this rose. This is a Generous Gardener rose, and it has like a beautiful pale pink, sometimes almost like a peachy, depending on what the weather's like. In the cooler weather, it's more of a pale pink. In the warmer weather, it's almost a white, peachy color. But they remind me of water lilies, and they are so beautiful. And the tag says they're only supposed to get 5 feet tall. And I planted in there in faith, hoping it would get taller. And look, it's going all the way up and it's coming around this side. And if we go through the front, you'll see it going all the way. You can see it, it's coming all the way to here. So I'm hoping that this year we'll have all these lateral canes coming out with all the flowers. So eventually this whole thing will be covered with Generous Gardener roses. And then over here we have a honeysuckle. I have honeysuckles here and over there, and they just provide this beautiful smell of sweetness. So I'm really happy having this here. This one often has aphids that I'm blasting off with my hose. If you have any ideas how to battle aphids on honeysuckle, please let me know, because I would love to have more blooms on this one so I can smell them when I'm up here. But this one over here does great. This one is always loaded with blooms and smells wonderful. So my husband built these for, I can't remember, was it my birthday or Mother's Day? And they're so nice. I usually put nasturtiums in here because they attract hummingbirds and you can eat them too. All right, so let's head into the garden. So we'll come down these stairs here, and the first thing you'll see are these 2 Blue Star junipers. And I really like them. They provide this big pop of blue, and they're on standard, which means they are raised here. They're almost like a little tree. And then down below you see sweet woodruff, which is a ground cover that creeps its way nicely around plants, and they're just about ready to bloom. And they also smell really good. Over here I have, what's it called? Chives that my mother-in-law gave me. And they have these nice purple blooms on top, but they're also really good in food. So that's been living there for 2 years, which is great. Still doing well. Here's our barbecue. We used to have it on the deck, but we didn't really want anything dangerous up there for the kids when we play. We can just close the gate and the kids can be in there. It's almost like a big playpen. And so we put it down here. And this is a big serviceberry, which we've had 5 years now, and it has these beautiful blooms in the fall. It's such an interesting color of reds, orange, yellow, and in the summer it makes these little berries that turn like a deeper blue. They almost taste like a blueberry, but have a little bit of a texture difference. It has like a few more seeds in them, but very, very sweet and tasty. We haven't had many on them yet, many berries, but I'm hoping that as time progresses, it'll get more and more, hopefully, and then we can just stand up on the deck and pick them for breakfast. In the back, I just put boxwoods because they grow easily in the shade. And if you can see, we have lily of the valley coming up soon. Now, I have to tell you, I used to, maybe hate is a strong word, but it comes very close to it, not like gardening at all. So I used to dread, in fact, this is how little I was in the garden. Our neighbor rang our doorbell and said, "Excuse me, can I please rake out your flower beds in the front?" And I said, "Yes." And I felt so bad. And I thought, oh great, now I have to go out there too and help rake, because it's a little rude to have neighbors come and do the work for you. So we were out there, my husband and I, and we raked our flower beds, and I thought, why would anyone in their right mind want to do this? What a waste of time. Next year the leaves will be down again and it'll be all back. But since then I've changed quite a bit, and it all started with lily of the valley. So we had lily of the valley on, you know, our smaller deck all the way around here, and it was just lily of the valley. So when I had a toddler, I started worrying about what they're going to eat in the garden, and I had no idea about plants. So I Googled lily of the valley, and I found out it's highly toxic. In fact, it produces these little red berries that they say they have cases of kids getting, you know, poisoned every year. And I thought, that's it, you're out. So I've spent a few weekends just digging out all those lily of the valleys and just dumping them on the curb, or Treasure Tuesday. If you'd find them there, I hope you saved them. But I threw them all out. I saved a few individual ones that I put in the front yard that I've since then moved back here because they were getting a little fried. But I tore it all out and I said, that's it. I'm putting in plants that are kid friendly, meaning not toxic. So I researched again, and I found things like Weigela's, the serviceberry, heuchera, like things like that. And I designed my garden around here, and I started liking it so much that I've developed other parts in the garden, and it just grew from there. My love for plants, for gardening, I started to really, really, really like it. So it all started with lily of the valley. So you can blame that plant for my love for gardening. So here we have a Weigela that I put in when I started designing this garden, along with the serviceberry here. I don't know how this tulip got here. It must have been a squirrel. We have lots of squirrels. So when I plant tulips, not that one, that was a squirrel, but when I plant tulips, I put in the bulbs, put a little dirt down, and then I sprinkle it with cayenne pepper, because that's what keeps the squirrels away. So I've had pretty good luck with that, except now when the tulip grows, the squirrels like to eat the top of my tulips. All right, so this here looks like a mature plant, but we actually just put it in last year because a place was digging out all of big junipers and yews, and I said, what are you doing with these? And they said, well, we're cutting them and getting rid of them. So they would chop off all these big branches and then take the root out and just dump it. And I said, can I please take them home? And they said, oh yes, by all means, please take them. So this is a juniper that's been growing for many years, and I popped them in not knowing if they'd be dying or not, because we were only able to save so much of the roots because they were so established. And three of the four that I planted survived. So I'm really, really happy about that. So in our garden, for every kid that was born, I have 4, we planted something. So this was our 4th born. It's a blue chiffon rose of Sharon. So beautiful bluish lavender blooms that attract hummingbirds, which is great. And I've moved that one 3 times. So that's another thing. I'm a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, OCD perfectionist in the garden. and I need things to be just right. I have moved trees from here to there, like what, 3 feet, because I'm just that kind of person. And I'll be spending so much time and thought thinking, where can I grow? Because you have to consider the light requirement, winter interest, all those things. So I've just settled on that spot, and I hope I'm gonna leave it there, but you never know. All right, so I guess we'll come this way. So this is just a new bed I created, I think last year. So we had the trampoline here, and so wherever we had a structure or anything, I just created things around. So this is one I put in. I know I'm not a big fan of this, but I do think it's easy to put it in, and it's also, if kids did end up climbing trees and they fell, I think it's a little, Kyle's nodding his head, I think it's a little safer if they fell on that than on rocks. But who knows, one day when the kids are grown up and they don't climb trees anymore, maybe I'll put in a proper edging, who knows. So in here we have another Weigela, we have hostas, which are such a great perennial for the shade. So they come out like this, and when they're at this stage, it's the best time to divide them. And I have divided lots and lots and lots of them because you get more and more for free. So why not? So this is a variegated one. I have no idea what it's called because it was here when we moved in, but we have tons of this one now because I keep splitting it. Then we have strawberries. They're also a great ground cover. Here's a heuchera. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a lime color one. And they shoot up these bloom stalks in the, like, maybe late spring, and they attract hummingbirds too. This here is a red bud, and we planted this on a 10-year anniversary. We've been married now 15 years, so it's 5 years. It's been 5 years here, and I remember the first year I saw it, it had one bloom, and I thought, oh my goodness, we just bought a red dud. It's not a red bud, it's a red dud, because nothing grew, there were no blooms, and that's the reason I bought it, is to see our blossoming love reflected in these blooms, and it only had one. So I let it grow, and second year, and I had 10 blooms, and I thought, oh, this is the most beautiful thing, 10 blooms, and I loved it, especially with that blue spruce behind there. That's a Hoopside blue spruce. I love the contrast. But there again, I prayed, please God, make this thing bloom, because I bought it for the blooms and I want it to be beautiful. And now look at it. It's chock full of blooms. I'm so happy about it. And they're not even open. If you get in closer, they're all still closed, so they'll all open up. And red buds are such an interesting tree because they have the buds sometimes growing along the tree trunk. And I like the multi trunk ones because they are such an interesting structure in the garden. So really happy with that one. So I think we'll zoom over to this way here. So again, if you look at the front now, you can see how far the Generous Gardener rose has grown. And I have, oh, here's another Treasure Tuesday find. So we were driving along and we found this beautiful arbor, and we just popped it on the roof, and I held the one side and my husband held the other side, and that's how we drove, and our neighbors were laughing at us. But look how gorgeous it's looking. Never think it's not worth to do something because you're being laughed at. You'll thank yourself in a few years from now. So I have 2 roses here. One is the Graham Thomas, which has beautiful yellow blooms and blooms really prolifically. It's a David Austin one, and this one here is Tangerine Skies. So I'm looking forward to when they'll meet at the top and mingle, and we'll see what it looks like. So the reason I bought these 2 roses is because they're yellow and orange and a very happy color. And we used to have one spring, there's another video I have about our little squirrel Eric, and this used to be his home right here. This is where he lived. We oh, he snagged. The rose got me. Help! There we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, so this is where he lived, and so we raised him. We found him. There was no mom, no family around, so we brought him in the house and we fed him. He lived in neighborhoods full of cats, so we thought it's not safe for a little squirrel to be left out there, and he followed us everywhere around. So we brought him inside, we fed him, then eventually we had him outside. We built this little house for him. He chewed the hole to make it big enough. And every morning he'd be on our screen, just looking in as we're having breakfast, just waiting for us to feed him. And I'd be like, okay, you know, he's getting a little too what do you call it, possessive about his territory. So we had him on the deck first, the house, and we moved the house over here then, because just a little further away. And since then he's moved into our neighbor's big spruce over there, the tall one, and that's where he still is. He's happy. I see him once in a while, but he's not tame anymore. He used to eat out of our hand, and even when I said, Eric, come, it would be like a Disney movie where I'd put out my hand and he'd come and eat the food, and he'd be so happy. And he doesn't do that anymore, but he's in the wild, he's happy, and I'm happy. So that's why I planted these 2 roses, to remember him, and also to remember the visit of my family. They all came over to around when Eric was, and I remember my brother standing here with his one daughter at the time. And I love having family around, so I planted those to remember the good times. So I love how you can create these memories in a garden, and every time you walk past, you have something or somebody to pray for or be thankful for. Create all these happy memories. This one is from my parents. It's a lilac, reblooming, bloomerang it's called. And this is the first year. It's so big. And again, this one is one I moved a lot. It used to be over there, and then we put the post in. This for the kids, what's it called?
Zip line.
Zip line, thank you. For the kids zip line. So I moved this over here, and again, it attracts hummingbirds, and it smells absolutely wonderful once they are in bloom, and they're just about to open. So excited to see these. And look at all the blooms, they're everywhere. It's getting tall. So this is one we bought just last year, and look, I just noticed this. What is that? Is that its cone? What is that? I have no idea. Is that what they produce? I don't know what it is, but it's very, very funky looking. But oh, look, here's another one. So yeah, it's probably whatever that tree does, it does. This is another juniper. Oh, I can't remember its name, but it's a blue, some kind of blue juniper. And I bought it for its color. It looks beautiful there in the winter. It's something nice to look at, because the whole hedge that's green now is brown in the winter. And so to have something blue there looks really nice. Okay, then we'll swing around here, a whole bed of strawberries. And I planted these for the kids to pick. And every year the strawberries have little bites taken out. And I don't know if it's rabbits or if it's squirrels, but this year I'm making a little bed, flower bed for the kids. I'm protecting it, and I'm putting a lid on top to make sure no critters get at it. I don't mind sharing my food, but as long as there's some for the kids, then that's good. Okay, so if you've watched my videos, you've probably heard about this one before. This is a Diane witch hazel. It has beautiful red blossoms in the winter. And I love things that are beautiful in the winter or smell good in the winter. There used to be nothing in the winter here, just twigs that looked dead. And so if you know about the Bressingham Winter Garden, created by the Bloom family, it's absolutely stunning. So I like to take little elements there and put something like that into our garden too. So here are roses I propagated from my parents' garden, and I don't know how they're doing. It's a beautiful burgundy red rose that they have growing at the front of their house. And if one of them takes off, I'm going to plant it in the front over our garage to create these beautiful red, burgundy red blooms. Our house has like a creamy yellow, so that's a color that would really pop. For my birthday, I don't remember, was I 30? My mother-in-law gave me these two, and they were tiny. They were like this when I planted them, and now they've already grown a lot, and they're gonna just grow until they're massive. But then again, huge winter interest. They're beautiful. This is a bed of raspberries, and every year I've got these raspberries coming up all the way till out of here. they just spread like crazy on the ground. So again, if you have a good idea how to keep them tamed in there, let me know please. But I have Fall Gold, which is absolutely delicious, sweet. It's probably my favorite raspberry. There's also Heritage, and there's a Black Jewel one. Here we have lavender, which I grew from seed, and they look pretty good in the winter too. I like when the purple flowers come out later on, like early summer. That's always gorgeous, and I like the smell of it. Okay, so over here we have lots of cedars. Here's a cedar, there's a cedar, and they're really cheap to find if you want to have any evergreen in the garden. Instant Impact gets cedars because you get them at Rona and stuff like that for, I don't know, like 30 for like a big one. So they're pretty good. When my firstborn was born, or when she was a little older, I created this little garden and we just called it her garden. So this is her garden. And in here we have an iceberg rose that we have mirrored on the other side. So beautiful white roses. They also smell really sweet. Then here is actually one plant that was here when we moved in, and I almost took it out and killed it because it had thorns, and I was like, who in their right mind would want a flower in the garden with thorns? And I'm so glad I didn't, because it has these beautiful pink flowers early, right around my birthday, and really, really gorgeous, and it touches the roof there. Beautiful, beautiful rose. I don't know what it's called because it was here when we moved in, but I'm so glad I didn't tear it out. And I just recently trained it, and the way to get the most blooms is when you train the main cane like a snake, because you have all these lateral canes coming out and they'll all produce blooms. So there should be a big show on that one. Then here we have daylilies, and they have these big stalks that come up and they bloom orange. And the one year, well, I'll talk more about them when we get over there because I'll show you what I've done with them. But till then, this is a crab apple that Kyle has planted. And so what he did, he found one of these crab apples on the boulevard. And back then we had this brick wall go actually a lot closer to the shed. And he just stuck one in here and planted this one. And look at the blooms now. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite trees in the garden. So glad he had that idea. Brilliant, brilliant idea. He also planted a peach stone in the front yard, which has now grown a lot and produces peaches. So again, thank you, Kyle. Great idea. And here's a Japanese maple again. And you see it died back all the way to here. And I just thought, oh no, it's done. But since then it's grown like this. And it's funny, our area, sometimes I find whenever I plant a Japanese maple, it dies half down, and I don't know why it does it. And then it keeps, so it's not quite a tree, but it's more like a shrub. And I liked it so much that when we had a different Japanese maple over there, and it did the same thing, it died halfway down, and now it's becoming a tree. So I thought, wouldn't that be nice if I, again, move it over here, and then eventually these two can grow together and just be this beautiful, kind of like an arbor of glowing red, because when the sun comes up over there, these things just glow. And then when you're in the back of the garden, in the evening and the sun's over there, again, it just glows so beautifully. So I do apologize for the ugly burlap all around the lawn, but I'm growing grass, and this is how I like to protect it. Okay, so before we move on, I want to talk about the shed, because when we first moved here, it looked very different. It was like kind of like a purple with white sidings and stuff, or white, I don't know what to call it, the wooden frames. And I didn't like the color, so we changed it to green, so we'd have something green in the winter time. And since then, actually just last year, we put a stone veneer on, and it was a challenge to get the stone to stick. So I was on YouTube a lot, checking out on Google a lot, checking out how to do this, and it turned out that the scratch code, we kind of forgot about the scratch code, so I was there creating the scratch code, and then my husband stuck them on, and then I put the grout in between. We also had this big porch door installed, and that's where the bunnies live now. So when you go inside, there's another video where you can see the inside there. It's actually beautiful and bright and very light. Okay, so we talked about the daylilies. So one year they didn't bloom, and I don't know why, but I started taking them out from here, and I just had a big tarp over there, and my idea was to just bring them over with dirt and everything, just shovel them there, and then the next day shake them out and can discard them, because I was like, if they're not blooming, I'd want a different ground cover here. So I started digging, and I was pregnant at the time, and from that day that I dug them up to the next, morning sickness kicked in, and I have really bad morning sickness. So I couldn't be out here anymore. So they sat there through all the pregnancy and all the winter, and then the next year they started blooming. I didn't even plant them, I just tossed them there. So it shows you how hardy they are, and I started liking it. I thought they were beautiful there on this little mound of dirt. So I started creating a flower bed around them, and my husband put this stump on top, and he put a fountain there, and to this day I just love it. So it's kind of funny how sometimes in the garden you don't have a plan and it works out. So this is a viburnum, and it's just about ready to pop open. It'll have these big snowball blooms, and they smell really good. So as you walk into the shed, you get this beautiful smell. This is another one of these junipers that we saved from the place that dug them up, and that one's looking good. Here's a Nootka cypress that my husband calls the spooky tree. There's a Hookside blue spruce, and a neighbor, and I love this when you can get free stuff from neighbors and you can share your plants. So a neighbor said she had some time, and if I wanted it, she found it on the Boulevard Roundabout, and I said sure. So all this, I know it doesn't look very great now, but it'll look great in the summer. There's all kind that spread. So this is new this year. We made these raised beds, and then my husband brought home these boxes from work. So we just put them here in this formation, because that's how I have the most space, it's very efficient when I put them here like that. If I had a bigger space, I would do a parterre garden where you have, like 4 corners of a flower bed and then a fountain in the middle. But this is me for this well. This is where we'll have the strawberries. I've already planted some in there that I find randomly in the garden, in the grass. Then this is the winter sowing that I've also showed you in past videos, but they have, almost all of them have things in them. Then here's gonna be the cut flower garden. That's in here and there. And then here we have a row of radishes and kale that hasn't come up yet. So this structure was here when we moved in, as were the lilacs, and I have moved some around. I find some randomly here and there. So I kind of created lilac alley down here. And again, it just smells beautifully when you're up there. And this is gone. This is here for the winter. So the kids can hang out here in the winter, but it smells beautifully. There's again more lavender, which I grew from seed. All the way around here. So when we first moved in here, my husband said, please, can I plant a tree? And I said, nope, because I was cold all the time. And so coming from Europe to Canada was sometimes quite a shock. Europe gets cold, but Canada gets freezing. And so I said, I need all the sunlight I can get in the garden. There's not going to be an ounce of shade in here. And since then, I've come to love trees a lot. So the deal was, when our firstborn was born, my husband said, can I plant 1 tree for every kid? And I said, yes, you may. So the first one was this big oak over there. That was our firstborn. The secondborn was this Autumn Blaze Maple. And that one just glows in the fall. It's beautiful. You already seen the fourth born, the Rose of Sharon, and the third born is right there behind the shed. It's a sunburst honey locust. So this is the sunburst honey locust for our third child, and it has like ferny golden leaves that come out in the spring. Looks absolutely beautiful, stunning with these purple lilac blooms. I love the combination. Here's the yew that we saved, and this one's looking great. This one's still alive, very happy about that. And then this is a very interesting tree. It's called a tricolor beech, and I've had my eyes open for a long time to find this one, but I did. And depending on the cultivar, they come out in all kinds of different colors. Some are like a bright pink, and others are like burgundy red. This is more like the burgundy red one, but it's like a variegated leaf. It's beautiful. Here's a ground cover I really like. I think it's called Snow in the Winter. No, Snow in Summer, because it kind of just gently moves along. It's not too aggressive, and I really like the color of it. This is my Fire Chief, Arborvitae, and you can see the bunnies at it. It's like, I hope there's still some life, and it has like this really kind of interesting orangey color when it comes out in the spring and fall. And this brown should have been hidden by the mound above it, but the bunnies ate it, and I paid $75 for that. But I found them at Rona for $25, so I was like, oh good, if this one dies I know where to get the replacement, but I'm hoping it's gonna live. So my husband saved these from the front yard. We're almost done. My husband saved these from the front yard. They were little seedlings, and he pulled them out and brought them back here, and this is how much they've grown since. So we have a lot of trees in this garden, which I love now. I think this is where we'll conclude the tour. You'll be seeing many more tours. The next one's gonna be in May, and there'll be other things in bloom. I love gardening, and I love being here because I find even from the morning to the evening, the garden changes in color and light, and then you have the seasons added to that. And it makes it even more interesting. Anyway, I love it when I hear neighbors. I love that because it makes me feel like we're part of a community, and I love this neighborhood so much. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hope you have a lovely day. Remember, you are wonderfully made. Bye.